think all of us are introverts, so it's fine. It's totally
we are
fine.
Ambiverts, right?
Ambivert.
You get like a little
bit of both. I'm far more introverted, and I'm just comfortable with certain people. Like once I get the vibe that you're a safe human, then I'm myself. But
warning label.
If I'm not 100%, that you're a person I'm comfortable with, I'm not going to be the same human.
Okay, I think because of my job, I've had to be extroverted for 3 decades, and so it just comes naturally to me. But I need so much downtime.
Oh yeah. And crowds, like a networking thing. It's just like, oh my god, there's so many people. What do I do?
That's more my thing. I don't necessarily need a huge amount of time to recover. It's more that I walk into a big networking event and I'm just like, ooh,
yeah, it's like, oh god,
strangers,
awkward, and then the awkward comes out.
The super awkward kicks in. Yeah.
And I'll say stuff that like you go up to a group of people and you like say something and everyone just stops and stares.
And they just look at you. It's like record scratch.
I really should have kept that to myself. Why did I do that?
And you're going,
and then you think about it for the next like 6 days.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Like you're like, I should have said this instead. Why did I say that?
Oh, you do that too. Okay, I don't feel so bad.
Oh no. Oh, I could share some. I have stories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We should have a whole podcast around that.
We certainly can. Yes.
There's a topic.
I want to be a part of it.
Excellent. She's like, yes.
Yes. We're all part of that club.
All right. Hello and welcome to Smiling Souls. This is Stephanie Keenan Ray and Wendy Tediucci. How are you doing today, girl?
Hey. I'm upright.
It's actually the Muppet of Wendy today.
Yeah. I got my whole. I still haven't figured out how to do the freaking Muppet thing. My AI won't. I have a free AI because I'm like.
Oh, that's probably why.
I'm like.
It will do it for you, but
I try.
If you've asked too many questions in one day, it won't do it. So you have to come back again later because that's what I had to do.
But it didn't make a Muppet. It made some weird like fairy.
Oh,
maybe you're a fairy. Just embrace what it gives you.
Yeah. Okay. AI is never wrong, so
no, that's not true.
No, that was very tongue in cheek. Very tongue in cheek.
Steph and I were both. What?
I mean, I knew she was joking, but I just had to be like, I'm like, no.
I actually want to make myself a dolphin. That's my AI goal for today. Is to turn
a dolphin.
Yeah. I love it.
You told me about that when we first met, right?
Did I? That's so random and awkward.
No. It made sense because they're like spiritual beings. Right? How would you? I swear, maybe I'm just whacking out.
I don't know. Wendy, I think you're in your Paul's induced cloud.
It's a fun place to be. God, out of my mouth today. Anyway, what are we doing?
Oh my God!
Steph's gonna read the.
We're going to do some oracle cards.
Right.
Yeah. So I pulled one for myself, which was clairaudience.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Archangel Zadkiel. Notice the loving guidance you hear inside your mind and from other people. You're hearing true divine guidance very clearly, and it comes in the form of repetitious messages urging you to improve a situation for yourself or others. Pay close attention to everything you hear in your mind and with your physical ears. Divine directives are repetitious, loving, and to the point. Ask me for help if you need clarification of anything you hear. Working with archangels is Zadkiel. His aura is a deep indigo blue. When you wear minerals of lapis lazuli,
I think.
Yes,
lapis lazuli.
My tongue is just a little broken, which happens quite often when I have to read on camera. You may feel a closer connection to Zadkiel. Hold this stone above your eyebrows to awaken your ear chakras and to clearly hear the voice of the divine. So,
oh, that's cool.
Which I mean,
I kind of chakras.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really, but that's
Yeah,
our third eye and knowing and
this whole
hearing.
thing.
They are all connected here. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I learned a lot from that. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you. Which, I mean, I've always had that going for me as the clairaudience. So that's how I get a lot of messages anyways. So apparently I need to be listening more.
There you go.
I don't know.
Don't wait. Don't not get the messages and then have your friend get the message at 2 a.m.
That's always fun.
Yeah, it's not fun for your friend. She didn't do that to me. I did that to somebody else. I wasn't paying attention.
Nice.
And got a text. Your angels have a message for you. You're not paying attention.
You're not paying attention.
Sorry. They gave it to me to give to you at 2 a.m. Okay. So while you were getting tongue-tied, Steph, weird thought popped into my head. So yesterday I was teaching a course and I was meant to say superpowers and it came out pooper powers. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Poopers. Like, well, there you go. Okay. So the card I pulled is from my Aloha deck.
Pretty.
God, I can't read. Worth the risk. You won't know if it's right for you unless you try. You might be thinking about taking a risk with your goals. Your fear could be interfering with this possibility. You might be worried about how this will appear to others or feel the need to justify your desires. Focus on overcoming whatever is blocking you from exploring this chance. Setting out the pros and cons of this gamble will help you decide whether the risk is worth taking. You may find that your fears are unfounded. Once you have looked into and weighed the possibilities of success against the cost of failure, you may make a more grounded, informed decision. Do not underestimate what you are capable of accomplishing, even if you fall well short of your ultimate goal. The potential loss could be a sound investment in practice and experience. You won't know until you give it a try. The best way to learn is by doing. In everything you attempt, you know more about your skills and likes. You can change your course, your mind, and your vision as you learn and grow. For now, envision yourself taking on and accomplishing a goal. Do you feel joyful as you complete this venture? A serene ocean meets a peaceful shore. The waves slowly yet constantly etch out their path on the land. Trust in yourself and let the sky or the vast ocean be your limit. Sky's the limit.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And cool. Steph, you pulled a card for Jenn, our guest.
I did. So it says, you know what to do, Archangel Uriel. Oh boy. Trust your inner knowledge and act upon it without delay. You are far wiser than you realize, and your inner wisdom is already giving you the answers that you seek. Embrace this knowledge and trust it. If you're doubtful, ask me to give you clear signs to validate your thoughts and ideas. I can help you put your ideas into action and make decisions about the next steps to take. Just ask me. And then be willing to work with me by taking action. Working with Archangel Uriel. Uriel helps to illuminate cloudy situations by lighting your path. He usually only lights one step at a time, however, so you may not be able to clearly discern the ultimate outcome of your actions. But you will know what the next step is along the way with Uriel's help.
Action.
I just can't even.
You can't even.
No. Clearly, she's been thinking about something and not taking action, and the angels are yelling at her now.
It's not about taking action. I had an epiphany yesterday around my work and my message. And I thought it had been so dialed in. And I knew there was an area there was something I wasn't giving myself permission on. And I'm like, I talk about giving yourself permission, the power of doing that. So I sat with it yesterday and I had this epiphany, and I'm still kind of reeling from what it means. Yeah, I sent some cryptic messages to a few people. Like, I can't wait to do a download about this, but I have to collect my thoughts first. And I kind of left them hanging. So I do need to get back to them.
They're like, what the?
Yeah. Jen's got another wild bee up her bonnet. What is coming next? Yeah, it might be a complete teardown and rebuild, which is kind of what I'm really good at doing. So I'm excited and like nervous and trying to make sure it's not a knee jerk, but that card tells me it's not a knee jerk, which I knew it wasn't a knee jerk, but now I have to do something with it.
It's a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love a photo of that. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies, it is time to talk about what no one told you about menopause.
So join us for the Smiling Souls Menopause Summit. We're going to be looking behind the curtain. We're going to have a very bold, very honest, very empowering, very funny virtual event where we dig deep into the real experiences of perimenopause and beyond.
We're going to kick things off with laughs from comedian Rita Disnoya Garcia, followed by some absolutely powerful talks from dynamic speakers.
And the fabulous Doris Birch is going to be joining us for some real girl talk, real woman talk about, menopause and all the things.
All the things I never told you. Yep. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, this is not your mama's menopause chat. It is honest, healing, and a little hilarious. And so we would love if you reserve your spot now and get ready to feel seen, supported, and smiling through the change.
Yeah. June 12th, your investment is only $97, and the link will be in the comments. See you there.
See you there.
This has been profound already, and we haven't even really gotten started. So,
and they don't even know her.
No.
Right? So I am really pleased and proud and so happy to introduce our guest, Jenn Vertanen. She is a transformation partner, coach, and speaker who helps impact-driven women stop overthinking and start boldly creating the life and impact they want. Through her signature Be, Dare, Create methodology, Jenn helps women shift from stuck and uncertain to confident, clear, and in motion without waiting for the right time or the perfect plan. Known for her powerful blend of strategy, soul, and no BS truth-telling, Jenn is deeply committed to helping women trust themselves, make bold decisions, and build momentum that has them excited to keep going. Whether through her group programs, thought leadership, or unapologetically honest conversations, Jenn creates the kind of space where women feel deeply seen, open to endless possibilities, and inspired to take intentional, courageous action. So welcome to Smiling Souls, Jenn.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And reading the bio back, I'm like, okay, gotta take my own medicine here and do my work around this epiphany I had.
Oh,
nice.
I didn't know what was going on because I was reading, and so I couldn't see you. But I'm like, oh, something's going on, something's clicking.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So Jenn, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you're here.
Well, I just turned 55 as of this recording, so I have 5.5 decades of life, but I will keep it more succinct for this. Starting in 2015, a couple of things happened that had me really wake up and take stock of who am I being, what am I here to do. Up until then, I had decades of loneliness and feeling broken. And, my story's not all that unusual in that you never would have known. You would not have known that looking at me. You would not have known that in the work I did, any of that, right? So on top of it, I also felt like a fraud, right? Like, how do I have everyone so fooled? The only person who really knew the depth of what I was feeling was my husband. And he loved and supported me no matter what through all of that. And, I did kind of put him through the ringer in some ways. But in 2015, the one thing I hadn't done to try to fix myself in my life was walk away from my husband. And I had been raising babies since I was 19. And so I was just feeling this, like, I don't know what else to try. Right. And at literally the 11th hour, we had told our daughter, we had waited until she was done with school. She was the only one left at home. We told her it was a really hard day. That night, my heart, the way that it makes sense to me is my heart finally started talking louder than my very unhealthy ego. And it was like, you don't want this. This isn't going to fix anything. This, blah, blah, blah. So that was, talk about cutting yourself to the core of, like, if I can't trust my decisions, like, what do I even do with that? Right behind that was a letter from my mom that swept all the years of abuse under the rug and said, we're so sorry for spoiling you and your brother. It was to make up for my parents' tense relationship. And those two things back to back, it was, again, this huge wake-up call of, like, what am I even doing? Why am I choosing to live this way? What do I need to do? And I call it rebuilding from the inside out. And so that's been the last 10 years. And, who I am today, it's me, but it's also very different, right? Like I say, if you knew me pre-2015, you really didn't know me. You don't know me now. But it's, to go from kind of that self-loathing to so much love for myself, so much love for my life. And what comes with that, which is the feeling that no matter what I want, like, it's possible, right? And I get to have this. I say that a lot. I get to have this the rest of my life. This feeling of internal safety, foundation, relationship, all of that. That's it in a nutshell.
That's a big nutshell.
It is a very big nutshell. There was a lot there.
Was there? Oh, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. So tell us about what you do, and that you apparently are revamping in the next.
Yeah, we heard that.
The work, it's still the same. It's I'm all of, because I went through that identity, that deep identity transformation. It's all about, who are you choosing to be? That's obviously the B part, right? The dare is, what are you daring yourself to do, right? We get in our own way, in so many ways, but it's like, what action are you daring yourself to take? What moves are you daring yourself to make? Decisions, all of that. And then what are you creating from there? And so it's, what is that life you're creating? What is that self you're creating? What is that legacy and impact you're creating? And it's all wrapped up in intentionality. Yeah. And I think, coming from decades of autopilot, I know what it feels like on both sides of that coin. Yeah.
Wow. So first off, you did a class, a workshop with two very fabulous ladies last month that I was like, I need to do this. I need to go to this, but I had a conflict and I had no clue who you were, but I was like, if they like her, she's got to be amazing. And now, like, just hearing that descriptor, I'm like, oh my God, that must have been insane. That class between
it was pretty great. We're going to do it again in October.
And what was the class?
It was a workshop with Jackie Cote, Jenn B, and Jenn V.
And myself.
Jenn, and Jenn.
Yeah. Well, Jenn and Jackie. Jenn B. It got very confusing quickly, but yeah, it was great. It was called Dare to Rise, and it was just, bringing each of our perspectives into that being, that impact, and that financial abundance.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was super powerful. And with that, like, I really am curious about this, Jenn. You said you took a lot of healing from childhood stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of reparenting yourself, a lot of building self-trust and self-beliefs after being told, like, you weren't a very good person. Very close to you.
Yeah.
So how did you?
That's so crazy.
Girl, how did you rebuild yourself?
Yeah, a big thing that helped me is my daughter was, and again, she's my baby. She's my only girl. She's my baby. She's turning 21 now. But she was 10 at the time, right? And so she was in these very pivotal years. And I just remember thinking to myself, like I didn't believe that self-love was possible, but I knew that there was a way to feel better, right? And so giving her what I would have needed, it also gave that back to me, right? I think also coming to the conclusion finally that my mom, and actually my mom is my muse. There's so much I took from my mom in good ways, but I came to the realization that she was never able to be the nurturing mama energy that I needed. Right. And so raising my daughter, looking at that for myself, knowing that I've always loved taking others under my wings. It was like, how do I take my own self under my wing for a while? And it was even going to my husband, and, it felt weird at first, but I'm, telling him, I need the hug of a parent, not of a spouse or partner right now. I need the hug of a dad who loves me, right? Not looking to him to be my daddy, like none of that weird stuff, but, and just receiving that, being able to receive that.
Receiving it's big.
Oh, my mom, she passed 4 years ago. And one of the last things she said to me was, Jen, and I had already done a lot of internal work by then, but she's like, you got to learn to love, you got to learn how to let people love you. And it was,
I was going to ask, was that a surprise coming from your mom?
Yes. And at first I didn't take it well. I mean, she was dying, so I didn't, I wasn't like, Mom, how could you? But I was like, I know I've done all this work, da, da, da. But then the longer time went on, and really losing my parents, it was within 9 months of each other, and it really opened up new layers of healing that I guess I didn't realize. But I think that was one of them, was those words were like, yeah, I still have a lot of work to do on letting others love me, right? And receiving that love. Yeah. We're so good at it's so easy to give it to others, right? But I've had to do it very intentionally, and it's still a practice, right? It might always be a practice. But it's, I mean, talk about game changing, right? And I think that's where, going back to my husband, the leaving him, it makes no sense in hindsight. He was the one person in all my life who had brought that safety, to me, that loved me no matter what, believed and supported no matter what. And here I was, like, thinking I'm walking away from the one person who's ever held me like that. It made no sense.
So why did you?
Because it was the one thing that, well, we're still together.
Oh, okay.
But, so that night when my heart started talking louder than my ego, when he woke up the next day, we had the conversation. I said, I'm making a huge mistake. He's like, I know, but he wasn't going to chase me. That's not his
He's
style.
like, you got to do your thing.
You got to do your own work, right? But we said, let's take a week and just make sure, right? And so a lot of work that week. But I was going to leave him because, again, it was the one thing I hadn't tried yet to fix how I felt inside. And, it's, I was so isolated and lonely. And again, you would not have guessed it, that he was my world. And so I put too much on him as my world, and my world was so unhappy. Therefore, he made me unhappy.
Oh, I see.
Very unhealthy way of being, right? But, hindsight, you're like, oh, that's exactly what was going on. But he kind of became the effigy, and it was me all along.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so then you
The common
worked on it.
component was me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So then you worked through some stuff, and now that you've worked through it, which many people, this is what they do. It's like what their business is, what they had to work through is now that what they help others do.
Yep.
So yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and I bring that. So I do have a background in IT, software development, excuse me, project management, and bringing, helping bring vision to strategy down into execution. And so that's really that create part of it, right? Like one of my favorite clients came to me. She'd wanted to start a nonprofit for 10 years, right? And it's like she was finally like, I can't not do this anymore, but I need help to get out of my own way, right? So I call it the identity level transformation with get stuff done action.
I love it. I love that.
So it's kind of like bringing it all together.
Bringing it all together instead of allowing you to just kind of sit in your muck and maybe not move.
It's like, like we're gonna transform, but we're also building your impact and your legacy along the way. And I think it's both those aspects that just really get me excited.
Yeah.
Because again, having gone from this self-loathing to self-love, and then that like feeling, well, what isn't possible for me? It's just such a powerful place to be. And I want others to experience that. Because again, my story is not all that unusual. Oh, she had a tough childhood, and oh, she got pregnant at 19, and oh, she divorced her like, this is all kind of basic stuff. And then it's, what do we decide to do with it?
It might be basic stuff, Jen, but once you dig under the surface a little bit, there's a lot there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't, this is not me diminishing what I've gone through. The point I'm making is that sadly, it is not unusual.
It's normal.
I just happen to be one who is open about it. And it's all in the, again, those decades of loneliness and chip on the shoulder and all of that. I want to help short circuit that for others.
Yeah.
Right. So I talk about it openly.
Now, how many children do you have?
I have three. My oldest, so I got pregnant at 19. He turns 35 in a few months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Grandkids?
3 kids. No grandkids. No grandkids
yet. Okay.
I am ready. I made my parents.
He is not.
Yeah, my children are not ready. This is okay. My daughter is too young. She turns 21 soon. I put it on my middle one. I'm pretty sure he won't listen to this, but he just turned 29, and I feel like he's ripe for this. So,
wow.
I'm ready to be a grandma, though. Yeah. Like we have family discussions over what my grandma name should be. Do you have grandchildren, Wendy?
No, I don't have kids.
You don't have kids. Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm like,
she's like, no.
So what have you come up with grandma names, just out of curiosity?
Well, my daughter hates these. I like Lulu. I like Birdie. I like Coco. And she's like, no. I don't want like Glamma. I actually like Granny. I think Granny is hilarious. And she's like, no. I'm like, what? I'm like, it's
Granny
not up to you. Granny B.
I love it.
Or Granny Jenn, or, And people are like, well, the kid will pick it out. And I'm like, right, but you can influence. I can have an influence. Like, that's all I want, is the ability to influence what I get called.
Yep.
Yeah. I grew up with, I grew up in a Welsh family, and the Welsh word for grandmother is 9.
Yeah.
And I was not, and I don't like, and grandpa was Tide. I love Tide, but I didn't like that word 9.
Yeah.
And I had to introduce her to friends as my 9. I couldn't say, this is my grandmother, Phyllis. I had to say, this is my 9. So I was always explaining it. And so I think I have a little leftover stuff I'm carrying, internal baggage around grandma names. I think that's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like maybe Jenny Graham.
Jenny Graham. Oh,
Jenny Graham.
Kind of like that. Yeah, I was Jenny up until I went away to college.
Okay.
And then I tried Jennifer for about a year, and I'm like, I'm just not a formal person. So I went to Jenn, and that's what stuck. But the older I get now, I'm like, kind of like Jenny again.
Full circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, I have a 10-year-old, and my parents are the grandma and grandpa, and then Joe's mom is Nana. So it all works out. We don't have to differentiate. It doesn't have to be like Grandma Kay and Grandma.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I was very close with my Nana, but she was my great grandmother.
Yeah.
So my daughter, like, that's the name. She's like, why don't you just go by Nana or Nana, which is what she calls her grandma on her dad's side. And I'm like, but to me, that's great grandmother.
Yeah.
And I'm not that.
Right. So it's funny. My cousin, she always called her it's so weird. Like people do create the names that they're going to call you. Right. And so like my sister, she's the oldest of all of us on the East Coast generation of family. And, so my sister called my grandmother Meme. The rest of us called her Grandma and Grandpa. And Grandpa was Gump, according to my sister.
Gump. That's cute.
Which was hilarious when Forrest Gump came out, because like the posters were like Gump. And so she was like, Gump, look, you know.
She was all over
that's so cute.
But it was really funny. My brother and I were not on that train. We were like Grandma and Grandpa. We did not call them Meme and Gump. No. And then my little cousins started calling their grandmother Mimi. And so when Elizabeth had her children, they still called Mimi, and which was their great whatever. But so Susan's like, well, what are they going to call me? And so she I think she's Nini or Nini, something like that. I don't know. At this point, they're like half. Almost adults. So, well, one's almost an adult, so they just call her Susan, I think.
It's kind of become a joke in the family. Like the kids were just over last weekend to all celebrate early Easter, and you know, it's like it comes up and we laugh about it.
Yeah,
and
that's so funny.
None of them are ready to have children, which is fine. You know,
I just think it's funny that you're already having the conversations.
Right? This has been going on like a decade.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
You're like, you've gotten a dog. What is your dog going to call me?
Yeah.
She's getting this established ahead of time.
Yeah, we all have our things. I guess this is one of mine.
I love it.
We all have our things. Yeah, we do.
Too funny.
Jenn, tell us about who's your biggest influencer? Like, who's had the biggest influence on you? You talk about, you know, your relationship with your mom, but I'd love to hear more about that trip she took to Ecuador.
Yes, my mom, as I was saying, is my muse. Sadly, she did pass 4 years ago. We had a very difficult relationship through all the years. But there was always love there. There was always love, but it was difficult love.
Right.
There's a lot I've had to heal that mama-daughter wound. But why she's my muse is she was abandoned by her dad when she was 3. Wow. She was then abandoned twice before, like a couple of weeks before each wedding, by the people she was with. She then married my dad, who was severely mentally ill. And there's a lot of abuse that came with that. Through that, though, and then she was bit by a brown recluse spider in her 40s, which shut down her pancreas and made her insulin-dependent diabetic. She then passed away at 73 from kidney failure, from the diabetes. And her spirit was so strong and her body was just done living. So that was heartbreaking to see her go through when your spirit is so strong and you still have so much joy and adventure in you, right? Why she's my muse. That woman, through all of that, reinvented herself so many times. Career-wise, the things that she loved doing, the experiences she created for us, herself, like all of that. She worked her way up through the ranks of the very male-dominated at the time post office to become a postmaster. Oh, she then retired and became a pastor. Like what? She then retired from that and moved to the mountains of Ecuador, sight unseen, in her mid to late 60s, met the love of her life, finally found like not just fleeting joy, but like joy in her people. Fell in love there, like I said, like that was her home. She had finally found her home and her people. So it was sad that a few years later, she had to go on dialysis and she had to come back stateside. But it's the perseverance, the never giving up on never giving up hope that you can find that for yourself in spite of everything else that's happened.
Love and peace and joy and all the things.
Yeah. Fun fact though, her love interest is This Is Audible guy. This is Audible.
Really?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Seriously?
Yeah. He actually passed about 9 months before she did, or maybe 6 months before she did. Sadly. And he was in Ecuador. She was now stateside doing dialysis. But yeah, I got to meet him once and he really does sound like that. Yeah. Amazing guy though.
Cool.
Yeah. And so that's cool.
It's a little fun fact.
Just a little fun fact, but what led your mom to go to Ecuador?
So with the diabetes, she had the condition where she didn't really sweat. Her body wasn't able to regulate itself. And so then with the diabetes, and if she would get stung by like a mosquito, it wasn't unusual that it would, diabetics don't heal as great with wounds and stuff. So she would, it would often turn into other health complications. And so where they were in the mountains, it was too high up for most of the biting insects. And it was just, so my brother and I, when she had to move stateside, my brother and I went to Ecuador to pack her apartment and, got to see where she lived and all of that. And I see why she loved it. It was this really neat, like, artisan community with some expats, but the expats really love to be like blend themselves into the local culture instead of being like, we're Americans. And, it was more like, how do we embrace and honor the culture that we're in as guests?
That's so cool.
Yeah. It was stunningly beautiful there. But it was the biting insects and the spring-like weather year-round.
So she was like, I'm sold.
Yeah. I mean,
might not be able to breathe the air, but it's okay.
It's like, okay, my body's not going to overheat, because I can't sweat, and I'm not going to land in the hospital a few times a year because I was stung by a mosquito. So those are some pretty big sellers for her.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. And your mom, I can see why she was your muse.
Yeah, me too.
Right? Yeah, never gave up hope, kept reinventing herself, kept showing up. It was a difficult relationship. But yeah, she's my muse.
Interesting.
Wow. I don't know if you got, so from Jen's experience, and just what I'm noticing about learning about my mom and her history, like what she went through. Once I realized, she went through that. Okay, well, that explains why she's like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of getting that from you too, like, okay.
Yeah, and that's why I said, so my dad passed 9 months before my mom did, and having them both go, there was new layers of healing that I didn't even know were in there. But what it's like, it's been years later now, and my husband and I still kind of marvel at, I'm able to remember the good memories now. One of them is he and I went to Chicago last year, and growing up, between until I was about 8, we spent a lot of time in Chicago, and we lived there for a while. But there was a few museums that we would go to. I hadn't been back since I was a kid, but we walked into, I think it's the Field Museum. I had a good visceral response of like, and it just, the memories just flooded back. And I really don't think I'd be able to have those good memories if I hadn't had, like, of course I don't want my parents to pass, right? But also stuff came out of it that was really helpful for me.
Yeah.
That sounds bad to say out loud.
No,
hopefully the listener knows what I mean.
Yeah. No, and I think that's part of growing up and going through, like, healing those wounds, is that you realize, like, you can look at it and say, I better understand what made them the way they are. So therefore you can not necessarily justify, but forgive.
Yeah. A ton of empathy. I was with my mom. So when we found out she was actually dying, it was 3 weeks, and I spent a lot of time with her. And to pass the time, it was just a lot of conversation and asking my mom questions to fill the time. But like, what candy did you love as a child?
Great
and
question.
when she told me, I'm like, I never would have guessed that. She loved those red licorice pinwheels. I don't know if you've ever seen those. It's like a disc, but and I'm like, I never saw my mom eat licorice. And it was just really neat to learn those things about her. And it does make me wish that I could continue to ask her those things of who was she outside of the abuse, outside of the abandonment, you know what I mean? Who was she as a kid? And I wish I knew her as a person more, and not as the victim who raised me.
Wow. I love that you asked her that question. That's a great question.
I truly was just trying to pass the time.
What candy did you love?
Yeah.
Because that leads into more questions. Getting curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I wish I could spend more time now getting to know her as a person. Now that I've done enough healing work that I can now have empathy, so much empathy for what she went through. And I wish I could get to know her on that soul level. And, she's gone.
Yeah.
But that's why, she's my muse. She is always with me. I have things that were on her desk that are now on my desk. And she's very much with me. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I get that feeling that you have someone with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter, raising the eldest daughter. And if you look at my matriarchal lineage, my great grandmother, she was left in the Depression era. Her husband was a wealthy banker. She was left with 3 young children and nothing. He ran off with the secretary in a town of 700. So it's not like you could like hide this, right? My grandmother then, who is my mom's mother, she was abandoned by her husband. And, and my mom was 3 at the time. So she was abandoned, moved in with my great grandmother and my great aunt, and they raised my mom together. And so it's just this like lineage of very strong women who've just had to really persevere. So I'm trying to break cycles over here, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, you are.
You're doing an incredible job.
I think the other interesting thing as a parent is raising our boys to be breaking cycles.
Absolutely. Yeah. I talk a lot about the female nurturing, but man, raising those boys.
Good. It's
so important
to be interesting and good people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting because, that whole woman lineage thing of how much of all of them are in us.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful to be healing that and nurturing that. Very cool.
Thinking about like when and if my daughter ever does have children, like there's pieces, this sounds really weird, right? But like what you're saying, it's like I get brought forward into her and then on
No,
down.
that makes 100% sense.
Well,
it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting.
I believe the same thing. Right. From my grandmother came my mother, came me. And I feel like there's that line.
Yeah. There's that thread.
Tether. Girl.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, she had her eggs in her body.
I know.
And that became you.
Yeah. It just, it blows my
mind blowing.
Isn't it?
What? And now I'm a 55-year-old woman with no eggs. So there you go.
It's okay.
No,
it's okay.
I love aging, actually. I'm very proud of my 55-year-oldness.
Yeah. I love aging too.
Yeah. I'm okay with it. Yep. All right. Is there anything special you want to tell us about what you do? Because I feel like we've just been talking about all sorts of crazy cool things. But is there anything special that you want to get off your chest or want to share with the audience?
Oh, so I love stories of people doing super cool stuff, no matter their age. One of my favorite stories is a woman who published her debut novel at age 80 about the erotic lives of 13 older women. And it's just, I think of my mom's story and I think of this story and I think of other stories of mostly women, but some cool dudes too, that it is not too late. It might not look exactly like the ideal vision you have in your mind, but what are the nuggets? Like, what are the core pieces? What does it make you feel? How can you bring more of that? I'm so much about living from a place of what's possible. And it breaks my heart when I hear, especially women say, "Oh, I could never," or "Oh, it's too late." And it's like, no.
Yeah.
And so what I would love to leave listeners with is, if there is that calling for more, like explore that. I mean, we started this, recording with, I had this epiphany yesterday and I thought I had like 99% clarity. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. But
new pivot.
But it's like, I'm excited about that, right? Like that to me is a life worth living, is like, what else? What else can I learn? What else can I explore? What else is possible? And then take steps to go after it. You can always be like, oh, yep, nope, that is not what I thought it would be, and go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Love that. It's never too late. And just thought pops in your head. Don't push it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Just, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Like, I wonder what that could look like. I'm taking my first aerial class tonight. Because I went to
aerial yoga.
No, and like this is like rings and
so fun. I had a friend who did that.
Yeah. Wow. But I'm like, I went to this show last week.
It takes some strength, girl.
Well, and I don't have it, so.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll get it.
Really fun.
You're gonna get it.
I was like, I want to be the woman who does that. Like I said, I'm 55. My body does not move the way it once did, right? But I'm gonna let it be awkward. I'm gonna let it feel weird. I'm gonna let it feel like, no one is paying as much attention to me as I think they are, right? So I'm like, this is something that I've always wanted to do. So I'm going to go do it. Now it's taken me a decade to get myself there, but that's not the point, right?
You got yourself there.
I got myself there. I'm going to go do it. I may hate it. I don't know. right? I took one pole class because I thought I was going to love it. And I'm like, that is absolutely not for me. That whole thigh sticking to the pole thing, that is not for me.
Not pleasant.
But I tried it, right?
Right.
I want to be the 85-year-old who has WTF stories to share of the cool things that I at least tried.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think we have a new catchphrase, Steph.
WTF.
Awkward.
What? Charmingly awkward.
Charmingly awkward. I love it.
Yeah. She's writing that one down. Get down.
I love that you always know what I'm doing.
That was a write downable.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. My company used to be under the umbrella, and I swear to God, socially awkward since 1970. But because I was born in 1970.
Love that.
But again, I'm like, if I'm going to be this, then I'm going to like be the one who walks up to a group of people and say something weird that makes everyone like, I'm going to own it. Right. I'm so over feeling shame for who I am. I don't play that game anymore. No. But doing the healing work, I changed it from socially to charmingly. Like,
I like that.
I'm going to own it even more and make it a very positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I love that.
Others get to have their own perception of that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Like the next network.
What others think of you is not your business, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Good old Michael J. Fox wisdom. So here's the thing. The next networking thing I go to, or there's a large group of people, I'm just going to walk up to a group and go, I am delightfully awkward. Hi.
I love delightfully. That is amazing. I love that better than charmingly. I'm delightfully awkward.
However it comes out, and they'll be like, huh? I'll be like, hi.
Yeah. It's, your right people will be like, oh my gosh, me too.
Yeah. They'll be like, I love you.
I love you. Yeah. Your wrong people will be like, what? Huh? And yeah, I just, I don't have time and energy for people that don't get me. Mm-hmm. That's such a freeing lesson to learn.
Yes.
Or place to get to. Yes. There's a lot of freedom. And I just want to help others get to that freedom feeling faster.
Yes, please. Wow.
Literally in my networking meeting the other night, we were talking about hitting the age where you don't have any more F's to give.
Yeah.
And that just became an ongoing conversation of the night.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. I call it having the right. I'm very discerning with my right F's. Very, very discerning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's such power in that. And if you've been listening to this or watching it and you're like, ooh, I think I want to know more about Jen. She's charmingly awkward. Whatever. Something resonated with you about her story. We will have all the ways that you can get in touch, excuse me, with Jen in the show notes. And so do reach out to her.
Yeah.
Jen, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. And Stephanie, I would love, like I said, the photo of that card, because that is exactly the message I needed to hear getting onto this call. I can't wait to share that with my husband, because he's been my sounding board all morning, and he's just like, what? No.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I understand that. Yep.
Yeah. He loves me, supports me, but he's like, sometimes you're a lot.
My husband's like, I support you in all the things, but seriously, man.
Yeah. Like, do you need to pivot again?
Exactly.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do.
Yes, again.
I'm a work in progress.
Exactly.
Right.
Whereas he's like very steadfast, and I love that about him. Like, I am just like, no, I'm going to explore this and this. And, we kind of balance each other.
I was going to say, you balance each other out.
Yeah. That's what you need. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. It's been a very fast and fun interview.
It certainly has. It's been a heart-filling.
Thank you for sharing your stories.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen.
Well, thank you.
Excellent. Well, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Sounds good.
Bye.